Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Let's get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards, and
January Liddell. Aloha.
Today we are going to talk about the doers. The doers.
I love how that we did that so in sync and we didn't even practice. So
All
cool.
right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe now. You're going to enjoy this one. I'm sure you are. If you love self-improvement, self-discovery, self-growth, let's do this. January, what do you think?
So last week we were talking about the word trying, and this week we're going to be talking about the word doing. So it's a follow-up to our last episode. It also ties in with the whole idea of feel the fear and do it anyway. Do it scared. And that's why we're talking about this particular topic. And Helen and I have been so intertwined with this type of feeling in terms of feeling scared about doing something. In fact, just thinking about it, there is something that scares me, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So there's something that scares me, but I feel very called and very led to do it. And this is why we're talking about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Helen is also going to share her story. I'm sure it's about her upcoming book. But for my story, I am scared about my nonprofit organization that I will be creating. And I've been talking about this for years now. I've been pregnant with this idea for 3 years, maybe a little over 3 years. And I've been wanting to create this nonprofit, but I am scared. And I'm scared because there's just so much to do with this particular nonprofit. And I'm intimidated. I'm intimidated by it, Helen. And I'm intimidated because there's a lot of layers, because I do have to choose a board of director and my board with the secretary, treasurer, and that particular board can also fire me. There's a way, there's a possibility that they'd be able to fire me. So there's just a lot of different layers of it. But the reason I'm scared too is that this deals with people. And I know every business, everything that we do is dealing with people, but this in particular, so my nonprofit is called The Castle Hawaii. Eventually, my dream is to have the Castle San Francisco, the Castle New York, the Castle Los Angeles, and the Castle is a sanctuary. So it's a sanctuary, it's a rejuvenation place for battered women and children. A lot of the times women don't leave their marriages, they don't leave their boyfriend or girlfriend, because they're the breadwinners. And so this particular castle, and I'd rather say the castle instead of the shelter. And so this particular castle is there to protect, to shield, to give them rest, rejuvenation, restoration, rediscovery of self. We're always talking about self-discovery and personal development. And this is it. That is the castle for battered women and children. So that's why I'm scared.
So you have this fear, and because we're talking about doing today, do it anyways, surround yourself with doers. I can understand why this is a huge dream. It's a huge take on, but what makes you fueled to do this? Like what is it, January, that you're doing? So you're feeling fear. So there's the fear, right? The fear factor. But there's also the doing part. What is the doing part? Like, what is the doing part for you? What does that mean for you, for this, and also surrounding yourself with other doers?
Great question, Helen. The doing part is the research. So I'm doing a lot of research, talking to a lot of people that's already in that space. So Domestic Violence Action Center, I've talked to many of the ladies there. I've talked to other nonprofit organizations and even tonight, actually, we have a gala for a nonprofit. So I've included myself in that nonprofit so I can learn from them. So there's a lot of doing. So I am surrounded by doers. And because I am surrounded by doers, and shout out to Kathy, because she just popped into my head. So Kathy Frankel, she's the doer. Helen, you are a doer. Surrounding myself with doers inspires me and pushes me to just keep going. And there's a need. There's a need for the castle. And it just, Helen, you are in this space already. You inspired me because you have Sexy, Soul, Successful, and Soul Fed Facebook group. And that is really to inspire and empower women and encourage women. And that is why doing. I'm doing because I'm surrounded by a bunch of doers who are like, let's get this done.
Definitely. I started that group because I wanted to surround myself with like-minded women and also inspire them because I know how fear works. And I know we all feel fear, but I wanted us to feel the fear and do it anyways, like we talked about, but also not just do something, but do like you say, inspired work. Do something that is going to get us steps ahead, steps towards the castle, steps towards best-selling books, step towards podcasting, step towards connecting with other women. Because even that, sometimes we're scared of. We're scared to make connections. In fact, speaking of scared, I always feel fear. I'm always scared. I don't know why, because I've done some of these things over and over again. But yet I'm really like terrified. And I'm terrified, fear can be different fears, fear of rejection, fear of what other people will think, fear of being judged, fear of loss, fear of love, fear of success, right? There's so many fears. For me, I always think like, what are you so afraid of? And I think I'm afraid of rejection mostly. So this week, and this actually is not fear of rejection. This one's actually fear of loss, that I'm going to lose money. And some of the big fears that we face is investing, right? Investing in our dreams and our goals. So this week, actually just yesterday, I signed up for Mountain and Plains Independent Booksellers Association. It was a good dollar, a good penny for signing up and becoming a member just for a year for an author, and is actually an association for bookstore owners, for independent bookstore owners. But a friend of mine who owns a bookstore said, you really got to join this. It's excellent for indie authors. And I thought, okay, she's been telling me this for a long time. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to just join it. And I told her I'm going to make a commitment to check it out. And I checked it out. But to be honest, I didn't completely research it. I was just like kind of feeling the high of everything she told me. So I was like doing it. So I put the money down and I was like, afterwards, I was like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into? Is it even worth the investment? I'm confused. So I felt all of this doubt all of a sudden after I joined, right? And usually this is not like me. I'm a big researcher. I always know what I'm investing. I always know if there's a return on investment, but nothing's promised, right? Nothing's promised to come back to you. So I took it on a leap of faith that this is the direction I'm supposed to go. I feel it in my gut. And I thought the question that came to me was, a year from now, are you going to be sitting in the same place wishing you had done this? Or are you going to move in the direction that could possibly give you the results or more? And a year from now, you're thankful you joined. A year from now, you're thankful you jumped in this direction. Whether it's money that comes back, friendships, connections, or places that it could take you to, like physical places. I said to myself, yeah, I don't want to be sitting in the same place. I want to be somewhere different. So I'm doing this. And that's the doing this is what makes the difference.
That just reminded me of something else because you mentioned that it's scared to invest. You're right, it is so scary to invest in ourselves, to invest in our business. And just like you, I do have it in the mind frame that it may not come back, right? That investment may not come back. However, you also said that you can probably gain friends or relationships or experiences during this investment period, when you do invest into something. And I remember last year I invested a huge chunk of change. It was huge into a lead generation company. And while I really enjoyed it and I enjoyed learning, so I did get education. I got education from it. I got affirmation from it. But the outcome of that is that I made some amazing friends, amazing friends. Some of them became my team members, and another one who we just reconnected 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now he has inspired me to do something else in addition to what I'm doing. So it's another service that I'm adding to my portfolio. But because of that, it's I feel like my return of investment, though I didn't get it monetarily just yet, I did get so many amazing people in my network. So I gained amazing relationships, which I'm very happy about. But Helen, let me ask you, because you right now your concentration is on your second book, and I want to know, because we all have fears about writing this, the next book, or how is it going to be? So for you, what is your fear at this very moment in terms of your book? Because I know you're putting a lot of time into writing and your literary proposal, your book proposal. So can you share with us what your fear is?
Sure, that's a good question. I think my biggest fear right now is it taking another 5 years, because it took me 5 years to finish my first book, and it shouldn't take that long. That's the fear. The fear is that it's going to take longer than it needs to be, that I'm going to get stuck in my own head. I'm going to get stuck in my own way, and it's going to take me a long time to pull myself out of it. And that's actually the biggest fear, because I know I'm better than that. And I know that I'm more capable of figuring it out to get it to where it needs to be. I'm not afraid of, not getting a book deal, because I don't believe that. I believe I'm going to get a book deal. I'm not afraid of not selling any copies, because in the last 2 months, I've sold 6. So that's something, right? Even if I sell one, I'm like, I sold something. I'm not afraid of it flopping, because I know it's not a flopper. I'm afraid of me. I'm afraid of my worst enemy, which is myself, getting in my own head and winning the war that kind of goes on in each of us, right? There's like the you that wants to do well. And then there's the you that is causing yourself to stay behind. So that, I guess that's the answer, that I am my biggest enemy, and I don't want that enemy to win. You know, I was thinking about the group Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed, and the women who did a live when I said, hey, everybody, post your live. Tell us who you are. You did it, January. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you do. Tell us your hopes and dreams, and share your story just for a little small moment, right? And there's a lot of women in that group. I mean, 300 members. That's not bad, okay? But out of 300 members, I know there's a good amount of women in there who are boss babes. But out of 300, I think only, I want to say 5 or 6 shared alive. 5 or 6. That right there is huge, because I'm going to tell you why it's huge. Because 5 or 6 women felt brave enough to get in there and be vulnerable and share a part of themselves. Not everybody has to do that. Not everybody can do that. So when you see somebody out there sharing their story, sharing who they are, posting about their life, that takes courage. Okay, yeah, sure, there is narcissist women out there and narcissist men out there, but I'm talking about if we know them, like I know you, January, and I know me. Okay, I share a lot about my life online, and a lot of people don't realize, like, I'm a true introvert. I have to push myself forward. I have to push myself to say, come on, you could do this video. And it's not that I'm forcing myself to do something I don't want to do. It's encouraging myself to do something that I actually do want to do. It's just, again, I deal with my worst critic, my self-doubter, my person who's like, oh my God, I don't really want to, like, I'm scared. What will people think? And I'm like, no, you can do it. You can do it, you know? So I do it scared. And by me doing that, I've heard it multiple times. People say, you're shining your light and it's inspiring me to share mine, despite who I am, despite what I face, despite my own self-criticism. And then really like-minded, you're going to attract other like-minded. So as a doer, as somebody who feels the fear and does it anyways, I'm attracting the same type of people like you, January. I attracted you, you attracted me. We are magnetized towards each other. And next thing you know, we got this circle of friends who are like all doers. And it's so dope to have so many doers in your life because we're all like, you can do it. Not only are we encouraging, but we're helping one another. We're not just standing there gatekeeping. We're telling each other, this is what I think you should do. This is what I found. This is, we're like an A team, you know?
Gosh, I love that you said we're a team because completely that's how I feel. I feel that in our because we have our own chat group and it's queens, right? Queen boss babes. And I can tell in that group we are just cheerleaders for each other. Cheerleaders and yes, you're absolutely right. They're we're sharing ideas, we're sharing thoughts and things, but really and positive affirmations. Speaking of, I did want to share like some tips that I saw about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And number one was to write it down. Write down your fears. Sometimes when we're tracking things, it's so much better, even for finances, right? Are you tracking your money? Are you tracking where your things are going? Because I am. I bank daily. Do you? And when you write it down, it's going to feel much better. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's eye-opening to see when you actually write it down and see, oh my gosh, that is what I'm afraid of. Something about pen to paper and writing it down. So write down your list. The second one said to write positive affirmations to encourage yourself, which is what Helen was doing. Helen was cheering herself on, like all of us who don't have that motivation sometimes. We're like, yes, you could do it. You could do it. So write down positive affirmations for yourself. And then remember, number three, remember, you're not the only person finding this hard, that there are other people like Helen and I that are also afraid. We are also afraid. We're also scared, but we do it anyway. Number four is remind yourself that everyone has doubted themselves at some point. So those are the four tips that I'm going to share. There was another one, but I don't really agree with it, and that's it, to limit who you speak to about it. And for me, I feel like it really helps for me to process through my fear. It helps me to actually, like what we're doing at this moment, just sharing and talking about it and really just putting it out on the table. That makes me feel like I've released all of this fear and I'm sharing with you so then you can help me process through it. What do you think, Helen?
Ooh, those are really good ones. And I agree with you on that fifth one. Yes, I believe sharing it out loud keeps you somewhat accountable, or even more accountable, actually. And it also puts it out to the universe, into the ether. And everything has energy behind it. So when you share what you're doing and you're putting it out there, you are kind of think about it like this. This is the way I visualize it. When I say I'm going after a book deal and I share it online, I feel like I'm throwing out a ton of fishing reels. Are they called fishing reels? Fishing poles with fishing strings on them. My husband's going to be like, Helen. He's a big time fisherman. But I feel like all these strings are going out, right? And one of them has to catch. One of them is going to catch a big fish. And that's what I feel like. I'm trying to use the word thus instead of so. I just remembered when I go back and I watch these editing and I go back and edit the episodes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm saying so many times. I'm going to start using this. It just came to my head. That's a side note. Thank you everybody for listening. One of the things I was going to add about this list that you just talked about is surrounding yourself with doers. How do you do that? Well, again, throw out the ropes. And by throwing out the ropes, what that means is put yourself out there. Put yourself out there on Facebook groups, engage with people, put yourself out there in physical groups, meetups. One of the things that I first did when I came here to Wyoming was I looked up Wyoming women's business groups. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to surround myself with like-minded. Here's the interesting thing. You have a choice. Think of it like a game. You're at the starting point of the game. Are you going to make a right or a left? Is the right the choice that's going to be something you've done before, people you've already known? Is it going to be a book group, a book club? Is it going to be a makeup club? Is it going to be a nature hiking group? Like what? Or is it going to be somebody who's a group that's a part of the interest you're in as far as your goals and dreams? Millionaire mindsets, financial groups, women's groups who specialize in A, B, or C. You have this choice, and it doesn't mean you can only join one group. No, I'm just saying if you are on a limited time schedule and you've got one or two groups you can join a week, join the one that's going to get you furthest towards your dreams. All the others will be there through Facebook groups or somewhere else, you know? So really just take a look at what you are exposing yourself to weekly, because that is so big. Where is your energy going? I surround myself with doers, and it is paid off. Okay. And I'm saying that in a very loving way. It's paid off because I'm rich. I am wealthy beyond measure. And I'm not talking about financially. I mean, yes, I'm well off right now, and it took me many years to get here. But when I say I'm rich and wealthy, I'm telling you, I'm rich and wealthy in friendships, in relationships, because I've cut the strings. I've cut off, I guess, which would kind of be number 5 a little bit, like limit who you're telling stuff to, which is the people that no longer serve you. And what I mean by serving you is, for me anyways, is people that are, they don't believe in your dreams anymore. They don't believe in your dreams. They're actually more negative. They're the doubters. I mean, you already got to deal with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You already got to deal with yourself. Why would you spend more time dealing with other negative people? I mean, it's just not healthy. It's not good, okay? So cut them off. And then you got way more energy and you're like, ooh, I got all this energy. I'm feeling abundant. And what happens when you feel abundant? You're going to attract abundance, and you're going to attract the doers in your life. And then those doers are just going to add to your bucket of awesomeness, right?
You know, that reminds me of a book that I once read, and I think it was the five people, oh gosh, I know it had the number 5 in it, and the 5 people that you surround yourself with. Basically, the concept is, who are your top 5? Who are your top 5 people that you surround yourself with? And there were certain criterias of the top 5, and I can't truly remember what they were at this moment. I read that book a long time ago. But what I did gain from that book is that I want to be surrounded by people that are smarter than me. So people that are smarter than me, that's number 1. Wiser, obviously. And like Helen was sharing, I'm rich. I'm rich in terms of friendship, in terms of love, in terms of people who support me. That is the type of rich that I would rather be. I mean, of course, financially, yes, I love to be rich as well. However, the most important thing, and I've talked to a lot of elderly, and I've seen the Blue Zones Project movie or episodes in Netflix, and really the main thing is who are you surrounded by? And what are you feeding yourself? And I know for me, my goal is to live 100 and above. That is my goal. And in order for me to live 100 and above, I do want to feed myself great things, natural things, but also surround myself with great and amazing people who inspire me, who motivate me, who cheer me on. And it's so funny, Helen, I was just thinking about this when you were talking. I said, "Oh, I think I found my Golden Girls." You know that show, Golden Girls? And that group, the Queen's Boss Babes group, those are my Golden Girls. And I can tell that we're gonna live a long time dancing through it all. And that's the other thing. When I surround myself with women who don't talk about other women, but women who actually encourage, inspire, and uplift, and I'm surrounded by that type of an environment, those type of women, I feel empowered. I feel amazing. And it feeds me, it feeds my soul. So I don't know where I was going with this, but I'm just really excited to be surrounded by doers.
It's it's a blessing. And it's something that happened in my life when I stopped thinking about what I don't have and realized what I do have around me in my surroundings. And I was like, oh my gosh, everything I have is already here. And everything that I'm attracting into my life is because of what's already here. So it is a beautiful thing. And I'm so thankful to have you, to have my sister Kathy, to have my sisters, to have my friends, to have an extension of amazing people, including my husband, who are all doers, because it's those people that if I need help, somebody's got my back. And that's such an amazing feeling. So thank you. Big shout out to all of the doers out there. We thank you. And on that note, January, any last words?
I do. I want to shout out some of my doers and I wanted to give them a big, big hug, virtual hug over Zoom, over YouTube, over Spotify, iTunes. And I want to shout out my husband, who's amazing. He's an amazing support for me. He shares what I do with everyone and shares how proud he is of me. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for my children, Sammy and Nina, because they are my hugest fans. I'm thankful for those two little ones. Of course, my sisters. My sisters have encouraged me, have supported me, have challenged me. So I love them. And my brother from another mother, Bob, Tammy, Stacy, Lisa, Ash, of course, Ash. Those are and of course the Queen Boss Babes. I do want to shout them out. But so many amazing people who have supported and loved. I mean, there's a laundry list of people to share. And I'm so thankful and I'm so blessed and I feel rich because of you. So thank you. You can find me January Liddell, Liddell.com. I realize that many of you may be listening on iTunes and may not know how to spell my last name. So January Liddell, Liddell.com, or Anchored Financial LLC on Facebook and Instagram. That's Anchored with an ED, Anchored Financial. And you can also find me, Alina, the Honeymaker, on Facebook and Instagram. I did write a book called Alina, the Super Saver, and it's a children's book about financial literacy. That is found on Amazon, BarnesandNobles.com, Walmart, Books a Million, and I'm hoping that it'll be in some stores, but I haven't finalized that just yet. But that's where you can find me. Helen, where can you find me? You. Where can you find you?
Where can you find us? Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. Google it. You can find me Hell of a Journey. That's HELOFAJOURNEY. I feel like I was just a hell of a journey, like spelling bee just now, right? All right. You can get your copy of Nothing Sexier Than Freedom available on Amazon and Audible. It's also in Cheyenne, Wyoming, in the Barnes and Nobles there. And follow my journey. I'm currently writing book number 2, which is the sequel. Everybody's going to love it. I just know it. I just know it. I'm feeling very confident right now. All right. And also listen to our sister station, Your Morning Sauce. Every episode is under 6 minutes. And you can find that also by just Googling us or check out our link. Thank you again for listening. Share with your friends. We appreciate you. Have a great day, everybody.
Aloha.
Ahia.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.